Wander versus Pelagia, Impressionable Mammoth. Hello, listener. Didn't see you there. Now, I want you to follow me in a little practical demonstration. Now, think back on the entirety of your video gaming life so far. All those titles, all those final battles, all those fantastic storylines that successfully collapse upon themselves and leave you with something to remember. Now, pare down that memory lane pile-up to think about vehicle sections. When the plot or the designer either or decide to give you a small to giant mobile device that are stocked to the teeth with weapons, most of them were terrible, a couple were decent. A few examples of bad ones are the Warthog end runs from the Halo series because of their inability to turn quickly, the buggy that Shadow the Hedgehog used, and one of the most terrifying examples that everyone knows was the Mako from Mass Effect. Christ! The horror stories of this thing are non-understatable. Getting stuck in debris, flying around for seemingly no reason half the time, and the incredible inability to even maneuver it in a straight line. Thanks to the community, you don't even need to play Mass Effect at all to glean the ultimate failure of this vehicle. But put away your shit for a while because I want to give it a redeeming quality, because conversely, the first game in the series where it was only playable was also the only game that allowed teleportation down to planets themselves, and that's why I personally believe the Mako can redeem itself, because even though it was absolutely awful, its awfulness made the game fun with its explorative abilities rather than just doing it through map screens and etc. and etc. Anyway, why did I bring up this long segment on vehicle sections from video games? Well, it's because Pelagia can almost be classified as one. After the player figures out how to get the Colossus' attention from tiny floating islands and figures out the cover system before dying from its electric tusks, the player then climbs over Pelagia's body to get onto Pelagia's head, where ancient connectors to the brain are located. See, this is Pelagia's gimmick. These head bricks are directly connected to Pelagia's control center, which allows Wander to literally steer Pelagia around in order to get to the final portion of the battle script, i.e. the sigil stabbing. With this armament, Wanderer has to drive and crash Pelagia into one of the islands where Wanderer can get onto the second floor. Do some more cover system dodgery, and finally out of frustration, Pelagia tries to look for Wanderer by standing up on its back legs, allowing Wanderer to get at its only sigil on its stomach. Furthermore, the reason I brought up the bad instead of the good of video game vehicle sections is because Pelagia is classified as a bad one. Trying to steer Pelagia is as intuitive as a 1970s nuclear reactor. Pelagia as a vehicle is so incredibly clunky that it'll turn 30 degrees at a time, and to move forward you have to hit the forwards connector, and then it'll take great strides forwards. Controlling Pelagia towards the destination isn't control-snappingly infuriating, but it's definitely bad enough to result in several overshoots when trying to get it to follow your thinking. Other than the driving aspect, Pelagia is a slightly obtuse boss fight due to the island traversal and actually trying to climb up its body, which from what I was attempting was starting at the backs of its legs, and that was difficult to say the least, before I figured out where I should have actually been starting. Pelagia isn't going to enthrall anyone, but it'll definitely leave an impression as the only vehicle section in Shadow of the Colossus. And now that the engines are firing up, let's light up the scores. Gameplay. While showing off something completely unique from the rest of the game, it isn't really worth as much when presented this muddily. The lightning it throws around isn't going to be a sticking point for this fight due to its infrequency, and the way to get onto its back isn't exactly straightforward. But once everything's in place, it does indeed work. I'll be fair and give Pelagia a decent 6 2/3 Triforces for gameplay. Story. It's a giant mammoth living in a lake. Another aspect are those brain controllers put into his skull, but that's more a gameplay point than a story point. On regular playthroughs, this Colossus can be put down inside of 15 minutes, so he's not sticking around long enough for us to ask questions, and he's also not interesting enough to dwell on. This guy's the 12th Colossus, and I'm sure by this point a large minority of gamers are just plowing through to the final boss. I'll give Pelagia a 2 2/3 Triforces for story just to be nice to the guy. Fun. While this beast's battle script isn't as convoluted as Pelagia's, it's obtuse enough to be called into question, from going to island to climbing to controlling to island again just to stab the guy up the face. The abstractness of being able to literally control him might have been fun and or funny if it were better designed or there was a different formative objective, like making him walk off a waterfall while Wander escapes to some conveniently placed wreckage. But this is what we're left with. It's not terrible, it's kind of neutral, scraping up against good. I'll give Pelagia a 6 Triforce's score for fun, because it's still worth it to check it out just once. Pelagia is kind of a strange case because it's not bloody-eyed terrible, but it's also not Angelic Light perfectly great or amazing. It's not Barba Grey either, it's kind of like a step off neutral thanks to it actually being turned into a vehicle section, probably being its only redeeming quality. Like a breakfast being made where the only great thing on the plate are the biscuits. Pelagia ends its go with a final of 15 1/3 Triforce, which more so is half with a little bonus to the big bad electric boogaloo. Anyway, again thanks for watching, I hope to see you again, and here's your victory for gamers.